It's time. Time to get credit for the work you've done. Time to get the recognition you deserve. With Purdue Global, you can move forward in your career, for your family, and for yourself. You're worth the investment in yourself to earn a degree you're proud of, a degree that employers will respect. Purdue's online university is designed to support working adults like you who know it's never too late to accomplish your goals. It's never too late to make a comeback. It's time to start yours today at purdueglobal.edu.
A group of high school students started a project to research a string of unsolved murders.
There is no profile of this killer except for the ones the students created.
What if this guy's still alive? Like, what if he comes after us?
Once you start getting a few tips or a few leads or a few identifications, then the cold case isn't so cold anymore.
This is Murder 101. Listen to Murder 101 on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Episode 83, Goal Setting for Financial Success.
Welcome to the Frugal Friends Podcast, where you'll learn to save money, embrace simplicity, and live a richer life. Here are your hosts, Jen and Jill.
Gonna set them goals for you.
Welcome to another episode of the Frugal Friends Podcast. My name is Jen.
This is Jill.
And today we're talking about goals.
Set them goals.
Setting them, reaching them.
Making new ones.
Making new ones. Yep. Set them up, knock them down, build them back up again.
Bowling.
And we have Brian Harrison from SAVVI Financial with us to talk a little bit more about goal setting. But first, let's talk about our sponsors.
Let's do it.
Today's episode is also brought to you by Vision Boards. Ever want to do something, then forget you want to do it? That can throw your decisions all off kilter. Don't let that happen to you. Put your dreams on a vision board. From the magazines that brought you decoupage and collages comes Vision Boards. Cut out pictures of your dreams and glue them to paper so you don't forget what you're doing all of this for. Vision Boards. That picture of a beach will only make you feel depressed for a little while.
Yes. There's something about this process that makes me think of Oprah. I don't know if she was the first one to talk about doing this. I just remember some dude who made $1 million talking about how he did this one time. I'm like, I don't know about them vision boards. I think it's just what I look at in the cold darkness of winter, wishing I was on a beach.
You know, it's the wrong kind of vision board when you're looking at that beach and you're so depressed and you can't go anywhere because you're not spending any money. And you're like, well, that's a vision. It's not the kind of vision I need right now, but it's a vision.
It's a vision. And it's
something to look at.
It's on a board. And then it starts to fray because magazines weren't meant to last for an eternity.
It's taking you an eternity to get to the beach.
So sad.
Wow. Now that we've thoroughly depressed you,
yes,
let's talk about goal setting.
Some real goal setting that isn't based on fraying magazine pictures.
Yes. So we could just sit here and talk about why it's important to set goals and define SMART goals, but we are not that basic. So we are going to get into the nitty gritty of goal setting, why you should do it, SMART goals, and all the things I said were basic, but we're going to get into them deeper.
Yeah.
So buckle up if you're in your car and get ready for a ride.
You should just be buckled already.
For sure.
If you're in your car.
Yeah. But anyways.
So we're going to go through an article, and then on the second article, you'll hear a third voice, which is Brian from SAVVI. So we actually have a representative, and because of his work there, he also has a really unique perspective on goal setting. So I'm excited to bring in his voice, but you'll just hear Jen and I on this first article.
Brian went to MIT and we didn't, so you'll have to bear with us for the first half, I guess.
Well, Jen was on MIT's campus, so she brings that.
I did walk through there once.
Yeah,
yes,
you'll hear her talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as goal setting goes, this first article comes from Personal Excellence, and they talk about 7 reasons why you should set a goal. So if you're still one of those people who's like, any road will get me there, I'm fine. I'm just going to kind of do my life and hope that by the time I'm 65, my life is dope and I do dope things. But probably not going to be the case if you're not actually setting goals. Here's what we're going to tell you. So number 1, it helps you to take control of your life. And absolutely, I would agree. We can often sleepwalk through this thing. Just do the routine. Do the things in your life that are most pressing and right in front of you, and lose sight of, what do I want to do long term? What do I want to see life look like in 5, 10, 15 years from now? And so setting a goal can help you to gain some of that control and actually be taking steps towards achieving those things. And as we talk about so often, your whys of what you want to see in life.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this podcast, you probably have some kind of like quote unquote financial goal, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm sure you don't need any preaching about the importance of goal setting, but I think it's important to know that even if you have these vague financial goals, like I want to be more frugal, I want to pay off debt, I want to do this or that, there are specific ways to write goals and specific reasons and mindsets behind writing goals that will help you write better goals, that will help you achieve bigger outcomes.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just like preface all of this with that and saying that like, yes, you are already poised to take control of your life. But if you give us the next half hour of your time, I hope that we can help you optimize the place where you're already at with goal setting. So the second one is that goals help you get maximum results. Like I just said, top performers and world-class athletes, those are the people that set goals. They write them down and they set big goals. Goals that, I don't know if you've ever heard, Jill, the big, hairy, audacious goals. Like, I don't know who said that, but somebody, I always hear that like, make your big, hairy, audacious goals. Like,
oh man, you're in the right crowds.
Yeah, BHA goals.
Yeah.
I don't know where that's from, but I hear it all the time. And so like making these goals seem just out of reach so that even if you fall a little bit short, you're still way further than if you had just tried something that was in your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm. Number 3 on this list, it creates a laser focus. And I'd probably say to this, it at least creates focus. And we talk about a little bit later of kind of the pros and cons of being so laser focused on a goal and how that can just typically be for a season if we want best results. But certainly it does create focus. While you might be heading in a general direction, a specific goal can help you know exactly what you want to spend your time and energy on and how to accomplish that thing. If you've written the goal well and it's not super vague, it can really help you actually take strides and potentially big strides towards that thing if you've given your time to set that very specific type of goal.
Mm-hmm. Number 4 is it creates accountability. And this is often the scary one. This is the reason why people don't speak their goal into existence. They don't share it with people, and they inevitably let it just waver off and get forgotten about. Is because they don't want accountability. Mm-hmm. Because if you fail, then you have said accountability. And yeah, so this says the accountability is to yourself, not to anyone else. But I wholeheartedly believe in accountability partners and sharing it on your Facebook and like making it known to other people, like having that accountability like out in the universe, that nobody's going to like chastise you if you don't meet your goal.
Sure.
But it just creates an environment in your mind that, okay, now this really exists. Now I really have to do this.
Which is connected to number 5, which it motivates you. That having a goal, and if it's paired with some accountability, can be quite a motivating factor to actually do it. Once it's spoken out loud or written down or somewhere outside of your mind and set into motion, it can be a very motivating factor. I know this past year on New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, Eric and I got together with some friends and we all sat around the table and talked about goals for the upcoming year, which was a new experience for me. I'm not typically one who would write down goals in the new year. I don't know. I think I've thought it's cheesy, but now I'm like, oh, but it actually is quite motivating. And I realized once I speak this thing out, if I'm still friends with these people next year, they're going to expect it from me. I'm going to expect it from myself. And it's a motivating thing. Which then you have to be in some way realistic, but yeah, also set the bar a little bit higher for that ability to then achieve it, that it's something you have to work towards. So yeah, it has been so helpful to actually have something on the forefront of my mind to motivate me to take certain steps. And having those goals set helps me to say, you know what, I'm not just going to sit on social media tonight. I'm going to do this other thing instead, because that's actually going to get me toward this spoken and identified goal.
Yes, definitely. And that leads into the next one is be the best you can be. So goals help you achieve your highest potential. Without goals, you default to a routine of activities that keeps you feeling safe and comfy each day. And that's so true. I just think of, obviously, the biggest goal that we've ever achieved is our debt payoff. But there have, since then, that has primed me to make other goals. Like, obviously, that's how I started writing. And that led me to like a new career path and all these things, all because of little goals that I've set, and other people take notice and invite me into new things, or I'm pursuing new things because of these goals. And they have shown me like a potential in myself that I had absolutely no idea was possible. I just released my 3rd book.
What?
And if you had told me that that was something I was going to do 3 years ago, I would have laughed. And and if you told me the genre I was going to be in, I would have also laughed.
Yeah.
So it's really giving yourself permission to be this person that you don't know yet. But is so, and it's scary, but is so much better than anything that you could have planned for yourself.
I love what you just said right there. I love the way your mind works. Lastly, similar to what you just said, Jen, number 7, live your best life. So I joke about this sometimes, like, you know, living your best life now, as if that's like a real thing. But goal setting can help us step into the best of who we are, or the best that we can achieve. And I'm going to go out on a limb here a little bit. I'm really going to hope I'm not stepping on toes. This is my experience. I took some time a couple of months ago to have a time of reflection and think through. I answered some of these very specific questions. It was like, you know, what do you want to be or have accomplished in 5 years from now? And then what are the steps that are going to help you to get there? Along with other questions of, you know, what has the last 6 months of your life looked like? And are they aligned with the things that you say you value? And it was a really I think, beneficial time for me to kind of work through those things. But one of the questions was, who are some people that are older than you that you admire, that you would want to be like? And again, I'm saying this in all humility. I could not think of many people. I could think of a lot of friends that I admired, but I could not think of many people who are 20, 30 years older than me that I would want to aim at being like. That's just in my circle. I did identify a few, don't get me wrong, but it was far less than I would like. And it got me thinking, why is that? Like, these people are 20 to 30 years older than me. Why am I not seeing this progression of life and wisdom and experience that I would want to glean from? And it occurred to me, it's because this self-reflection and goal-setting process has not happened in their life, and that we are capable of being stagnant, of not growing, of achieving a certain level and staying there. That terrifies me. Like, to imagine me at 55 and I have not matured beyond where I'm at right now, that does not sound like any place I want to find myself. But I realize that I could find myself there if it is not my intention to grow and gain experiences, knowledge, skill set. And that takes intentionality. It takes goal setting, regardless of kind of what ideas we might have around this process or how trite it might seem. If we're not aimed at anything, what's the saying? Anything will get you there. So yeah, I don't mean to like bring it down too heavy, but I started to realize how important this kind of pausing, reflection, identifying values, setting goals, taking steps to achieve those goals, to actually grow as we get older, so that we don't find ourselves 80 years old and never having gained more knowledge and wisdom. My goodness, how sad.
Good word. Yes, good word. And I want to point out also is that you said like 20, 30 years older. I'm sure that there are people that look like they're places we want to be that are maybe just a few years older than us. But I think where we lose sight of goal setting is that our goals are too short term. They're 6 months, a year, 2 years out. And we don't spend enough time goal setting for 5 and 10 years out.
Yes.
One of my favorite books is The Top 10 Distinctions Between Millionaires and the Middle Class by Keith Cameron Smith. And he talks about how millionaires are always doing long-term goal setting. They're always thinking 5, 10 years in the future, where the middle class is very focused on right now. And even our goals are focused on right now. Like, how fast can I get out of debt? How can I make my monthly bills? Like, how can I increase my spending for next month? But what we should really be investing more of our energy in is doing long-term goal setting and then working backwards. So like reverse engineering our goals from the 10-year point. And so I actually made a financial freedom planner. If you follow me on Instagram, you've definitely seen me talk about it. Once a year, around this time, we're due to go through it. We talk about our 1 year, 5 year, 10-year goals in different categories. So family, financial, education. So we'll start with 10, we'll go to 5, we'll go to 1, and then we'll break down our next year and do month by month goals. And so we work on this together. And then it has it's like monthly budget and savings planners and all that. But at this point in our life, we're mainly using it for goal setting worksheets.
Yeah.
If you want to get that, you can go to frugalfriendspodcast.com/freedom planner and use the code frugalfriends19 and you can get 50% off for that financial freedom planner. But yeah, so thinking longer term with your goals.
It's fantastic. It's challenging to me even. And I will say there was a time in life where I thought it was silly to plan that far out. I had a friend who was planning vacations 5 to 8 years out. And I'm just like, you don't even know what's going to happen in life. That's so far in the future. Plan a vacation for this summer. I genuinely had something where I was just opposed to it. I'm like, you don't know what's going to happen in life. So why try to go that long term? But I've started to realize now as I've gotten older that there is so much more time in life that if I don't have these more longer term goals, then I might be sorely disappointed when I get to 40, 50, 60, and I haven't actually really planned for what life is going to look like then. In those same set of questions that I had talked about, which I can link in the notes as well. I think it's a really phenomenal practice to do. Just my therapist mind loves it. But one of the questions was, what do you want to do in 10 years? And I realized, holy moly, 10 years. I've never thought about that, which is interesting to hear you say, like, well, that's traditional middle class for you. But I realized that is all of my 30s. In 10 years from now, I will still only be 40. Yes, hear me loud and clear. 40 is young, people. Like, that's overwhelming to me, but that's 10 years. I usually think, like, what can I do in 2 years? And everything I listed out was accomplishable, if that's a word, in like 5 years. You know, it was learn a language, pick up, you know, my instrument again, do some drawing. I'm like, I could do all this in 5 years. What in the world is 10 years? How do I wrap my mind around that? But it's been such a good exercise for me to start to aim bigger.
Yeah. I mean, and that's really what we're trying to get at, is to think bigger, just to think and plan bigger. And yeah, Travis and I go through the same planner every year, and we'll look at our planner that we did the year before, and our 5 and 10 year goals are not always the same, and they don't have to be. You don't have to be married to your goals, but you have to set them, because reverse engineering your short-term goals out of your long-term goals is more effective.
Good stuff. Well, let's move into our next article, and we're going to bring in Brian from SAVVI for this next portion. We are so excited to have Brian, the head of consumer product at SAVVI, on the podcast today to share a little bit more about what they do over there at SAVVI, but also to get your input, Brian, on some of these articles that we're looking at about goal setting, and hear your input, particularly from the perspective that you bring and the product that you're talking about today. So we want to take a look at this article it's called About Leaders, and it's talking about the Harvard study on SMART goals. And we started talking a little bit about it before we even hit record. But Brian, you were saying that you even had planned to talk about this and some of the myth around it. But yeah, what's your take on this?
Well, I heard of this study about 20 years ago, and I think at the time someone said it was a Yale study. So then it morphed into a Harvard study, but then in the research...
Pawn it off to some other Ivy League.
They're just passing it back and forth between really smart people. But then to find out it was urban legend was heartbreaking. But then I think, like you, I realized, well, wait a minute. We know, I mean, and there are other studies that back up the fact that if you have goals, you're better off than not having goals. And if you write down those goals and take the steps that I know you're going to talk about in a little bit, then you're more likely to get where you need to get to. So urban myth or not, it certainly brings some actionable advice with it. So, yeah. But yeah, no, I've known about the study for a long time. I've cited it. And then to see actually just before our interview that it was maybe a little bit of legend. It's a little heartbreaking, but still some really important stuff for sure.
Before we define what SMART goals is for anybody who is not aware, we will get there. I did like in this article how they outlined some of the major reasons that people don't set goals. And they list 4. The first one being that they may not realize or recognize the value or impact of having a goal. Yeah. What did you think about this, Jen?
To me, it's still like, I guess from where I sit, I'm still shocked when people don't have goals, but it's not as common as I assume. So, and I guess that comes from a place where like things don't come easily to me. So I've always had to like set goals to make sure I get anywhere or I will just get nowhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked being reminded of these reasons why people don't set goals. So yeah, like you said, the first one is most people don't recognize the value. The second one is the vast majority of people had never had any training in goal setting. And then the third, people fear failure and will avoid it at all costs. And then the fourth one is people fear that others will be critical of them if they don't achieve the goals. And I think the peer pressure thing is definitely something that has made me nervous to share my goals. Like I've always made goals, but sometimes I won't share them because I'm like, well, what if I don't reach them? Then I have to like have people ask about it and all this stuff. And so it definitely reminded me of this is definitely something that still like rears its head even in my life.
Yeah. Brian, in your work, what have you seen some of the barriers are in goal setting?
Well, I think it's interesting. Last week, I was talking to one of our users. We work through employers, and I was at a benefits fair, and she came up and she's like, "Oh, I want to use this, but I'm so bad with money." And I said, "Well, the first step is to admit you have a problem." And I was like, "Okay, so that," and you talk about the impact of goals. Well, setting a goal can sometimes be a reality check to say, "Oh, okay, I do have a lot of student debt, and I haven't saved anything for retirement, but." It's that glass half full, half empty positioning of, well, a goal should be about what you want to get out of life. And it doesn't just have to extend to finances. If you want to get healthier, more in shape, when you look at what a goal is, it's about, okay, well, what do I really want? And then when I understand that why behind it, it's like, okay, here's why I'm not doing takeout for every meal at work. And here's why I'm taking some of my money and putting it into a retirement plan, or your alley, going to the thrift store, or flipping the coupon, finding the online deal. And so when it becomes about not, I haven't done what I need to do, but it's like, okay, but if I change, I can get what I want out of life. And we tried to build our tool at SAVVI around getting what people want out of life, not the, I have to eat my vegetables. This is so hard. It's like, no, this is about good stuff. But it's hard. It's a reality check sometimes, for sure.
Yeah, I think the thing for me has been if it just has seemed way too unattainable, if I know that in my mind, the steps I'll be able to take towards it are so minuscule that I don't even want to look at the goal because I don't want to be disappointed at what small steps I'd be taking. Thinking that ignoring it is better and doing nothing is better, I don't understand.
Better. It feels
when you start to explain it, it doesn't make sense. It's like, something is better than nothing, even baby steps towards this goal, but making it an achievable goal, not aiming at setting up for failure, certainly not being afraid of it, but not making this lofty thing that is completely unattainable.
Yeah. And I think that's the difference between goals and dreams. Like dreams may not be attainable right now, but goals should be.
Yeah. Which that is kind of how they define SMART goals. So SMART being the acronym for a good goal to set. And so basically SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timetable. So that when you're setting a goal, it's not just, I want to eat better. Well, okay, but how are you going to do that? And what's going to measure whether or not you're eating better? How will you know that you've even achieved that goal? Or I want to save money. I want to get better at saving. Okay, but how? So this has been a really helpful tool for me to remember, okay, if I want to set a goal, these are the foundational components that it should have to it. Even as a therapist, I use this, whether or not Harvard says it actually is like a good thing to do. I do think that these measurables for goals are super helpful.
Yeah. Brian, what is your view on SMART goals?
I love SMART goals, and I'm from Boston, so I have to make sure the R is part of our
smart. It's smart.
It's a SMART goal, big guy.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. In being in the advice profession, this is a great way to look at as a litmus test of what your goals are. It's interesting, though, one thing that some of the other research has shown is that one thing that may be left out of SMART is to make it actually a little bit challenging. So you talked about the baby steps, but it's this balance between something that is achievable, but it's got to be a little bit of a challenge, because I could say, you know what, I'm not going to eat chocolate for the next 2 hours. And it's like, way to go. But it's like, you know what?
I don't know, speak for yourself. That's challenging for me.
I've got this headset that's tethering me to my laptop, so I can't get to that Halloween. But when it's like, okay, congratulations, that maybe that was the baby step, but then there has to be that next baby step. So absolutely. And because, like you said, people can set goals that they have nothing to measure. And all of a sudden it's like, well, I wanted to get in shape, but what was the roadmap there? I wanted to be better about my money and pay off that debt. Well, what did that look like? And it's not just wishful thinking that'll get you there.
Yeah. I like the idea of pairing this with what if questions. Of, like you're saying, you could set very easy and attainable goals, but then is it really a goal at all? Or is it just you're living your life? But pairing it with some creativity and pushing yourself to say, what if I didn't eat chocolate for 2 months. Now we're talking.
Sounds awful, but no.
Yeah.
So that actually reminds me, because I wrote about SMART goals in my new book that just came out this month. And part of the thing that I thought was missing also from SMART was emphasis on the challenge. And so I found another acronym to go with it called ABC. And so the A is achievable / aim high. And then the B is believable. So that it's actually believable, but you also believe in yourself and you're like self-affirming. And then the C is committed. So I like to pair those two acronyms together. And I think that that offers like the challenge that SMART sometimes can be missing.
Did you come up with this, Jen?
No. I found it on the internet.
You could have just taken
like
credit.
Everyone else.
You should still buy the book. Buy the book, whether it's your idea or not.
Right. I put it in paper or on Kindle, and it's all packaged very nicely, and you can buy it.
Sounds like you make a good
That's what I did.
T-shirt, like a Frugal Friends, like ABC mug to I don't know, swag for your fans.
Do you know your ABCs?
Yeah, that's right.
That would be good.
Are you smart?
Maybe
you know
one
your
day.
ABCs.
We know New Year's resolutions often don't stick. In fact, on average, they last around 30 days. So if saving money is on your 2024 resolution list, here's a foolproof way to stick to yours.
Switch your phone provider to Mint Mobile. For a limited time, wireless plans from Mint Mobile are $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. That's unlimited talk, text, and data for $15 a month.
For those of you paying close to $40 a month for just one phone line, this means a savings of $300 over the course of the year. We especially like Mint because all plans come with unlimited talk and text and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network.
To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/frugal. That's mintmobile.com/frugal. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/frugal. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
AI might be the most important new computer technology ever. It's storming every industry, and literally billions of dollars are being invested. So, buckle up. The problem is that AI needs a lot of speed and processing power. So, how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. OCI has 4 to 8 times the bandwidth of other clouds, offers one consistent price instead of variable regional pricing. And of course, nobody does data better than Oracle. So now you can train your AI models at twice the speed and less than half the cost of other clouds. If you want to do more and spend less, like Uber, 8x8, and Databricks Mosaic, take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/strategic. That's oracle.com/strategic. oracle.com/strategic.
Okay, so another thing I liked about this article is that, maybe we should, we've gone over the SMART, the acronym, what they all are, but I like right underneath it, it has an action plan. So it says, do some goal setting in the following areas or categories that are important to you. And it lists all of these different categories that you can have SMART goals in. So it's not just financial. It's really, to become a well-rounded person, you have to have well-rounded goals. So it's family, career, education, attitude, physical, service, avocation. Oh, hobbies. That's a fancy word for hobbies.
I like it. Makes you sound really cultured.
Yeah, but I liked having, and they have like a little wheel that like at the center of all of these words is a little circle that says core values. And so like all of your SMART goals for each of these categories should go through the lens of what your core values are. Everything leads back to the thing or the things that you value most. And sometimes we can get through life and we get to a place and we're like, how did I get here? Like, how did I get so far away from who I wanted to become? But if you're making goals through the lens of your core values, even if you're reaching goal, whether you're, reaching them or not reaching them, you're still going to be getting closer to the person that you want to be.
I think that's a great point because, especially with financial goals, no one thinks about, I really want to get to $1 million in my 401k, just because it's about, I want to spend more time with my family and I want to get to a point where I don't have to get in my car and sit in a commute for, an hour to get to my job. And yeah, when it's through the lens of the why behind the goal. And then the other piece, which I think you were alluding to, is also to visualize, like, what would it be like? What would it be like if I were to get there? And when we think about this getting what you want out of life piece of goal setting, and then it's when you can picture it and think like, right, that travel, that time with my family, the vacation home that I wanted, all the aspirational things, or just the feeling of, wow, you know what, that student loan is gone. It's all really positive, and that's what becomes motivating.
Yeah.
And I think this is where you can look at whether or not it's congruent with your core values, because you could be setting a goal that's not even your goal, right? We can sometimes even borrow this from other people of, I want a financial independence, retire early. Well, is that actually your personal goal? And does it align with your core values? Do you actually not want to work after age 30? Does that align with your core values, who you know yourself to be? And if not, then it's incongruent and you're going to feel this kind of lopsided, I don't even know if I want to be working towards this, or I'm not quite reaching this, but I don't even know if I want to. So making sure that it actually aligns with who you are as a person and your value system and all other aspects of life. Does this does it help me with my other goals of wanting to spend more time with family, or become more physically fit, or learn a new language, or whatever kind of goals that you're setting for yourself? Do they all support each other? Because if not two, you're going to be there's going to be incongruence. It's going to be lopsided. It's not going to work.
Yeah. I know we have we have a diverse listenership, and part of our audience are high achievers. And I'm not going to say overachievers because that's rude. They're high achievers.
I'm one of them, Jen. So come at me.
Yeah. But they're, I would, love to lump myself into this group. I would be honored to. But like when they get a singular goal, they will work diligently until that goal is met.
Yeah.
And I can highly identify with that through our debt payoff. We sacrificed and we neglected a lot of other things. But after having some time to reflect and look at goals and kind of look at this well-rounded person that I want to be, I almost wish that I had taken more time to set goals in these other areas of my life during that time and not been so laser focused on this one goal. And I still would have reached it because that's the person I am and I'm committed, but I neglected and I sacrificed things and times and events that I won't be able to get back. And so part of me regrets doing that. Yeah. And so especially for our early retiree listeners and people that are diligently paying off debt, those are great financial goals. And obviously I'm super on board with them. But also, take time to look at the other areas of your life. Who do you want to be? What are your core values? And what are the goals that you have to get there too?
It's a great point because every goal is going to affect other goals. And it's interesting because this was the problem that we tried to solve at SAVVI, because we built it to try to optimize someone's financial life. And that's hard because, as you talk about, when you pick a goal and if you're just laser focused and relentless, it's almost like you put the blinders on. And like you said, well, if I'm all about paying off my debt, but I work somewhere that has a match on my 401k and I just am so focused on paying off that debt, it's like, well, did you realize your employer had free money on the table for you to save for retirement? Yeah. And the flip side is true. Well, what if I just put all my money in retirement and then I realized oh my goodness, my car just broke down and I have nothing in my checking account? So it's challenging, but and certainly time too, right? You pick the career where it's like, I'm going to retire by 35, 40. And then it's like, oh my goodness, I am miserable with what I'm doing. Maybe it wasn't the goals. The good thing about goals too is you can change them. They're not written in pencil. But yeah, sometimes that relentless focus can take away from the broader context of, I need to look around to make sure that this, overachievement. I'm sorry. What was it?
High achieving.
I just offended a bunch of your listeners. Just achievement. We'll just call it achievement.
Yeah.
That isn't at the expense of what really matters.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that if you get knocked off the horse on this goal that you're aiming at, it's possible that if you have a few goals simultaneously, you're still maintaining in one of the other areas versus, oh man, I'm knocked off the horse on my one and only goal. And that can be really demotivating. That's a word.
And I will balance this with, I love the book, The One Thing by Gary Keller. And so I wholeheartedly love the idea of focusing on one thing at a time, but not like 4 years at a time.
Yes.
So you can still practice one goal at a time sort of thinking, but having a few different goals going simultaneously. I don't know if that makes sense, but like you can have them there and say like this month or week or day I'm focusing on this goal and kind of go back and forth that way. I like to have, 2 or 3 goals going at one time. That way it's manageable, but not too all over the place. So if you haven't read The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan, definitely read it. And then I think you will understand my gibberish a little more.
Speaking of one thing, Jen.
There's one thing I'm always about.
Yeah, and you don't need to diversify on this one. It's the Bill of the Week.
That's right. It's time for the best minute of your entire week. Maybe a baby was born and his name is William. Maybe you paid off your mortgage. Maybe your car died and you're happy to not have to pay that bill anymore. Duck bills, Buffalo Bills, Bill Clinton. This is the Bill of the Week.
Brian, every week we invite one of our listeners or our guests to give us their favorite bill for this week, and we would love to hear yours.
So I narrowed it down to 2. And I'll tell you the one that I didn't pick because I'm going to get in trouble for not picking it. I thought of my wedding, right? I was like, oh, the wedding was expensive and it was wonderful. And I'm so happy. And I was like, oh, that is so much just pandering because my wife's amazing. But no,
Awesome.
if she ever listens
Good
to this,
one.
I was going to pick it, but I thought more appropriately, a few years ago, actually about 5.5 years ago, I went back to grad school and I don't know how I fooled them, but I got into a program at MIT, which actually is how I met one of the co-founders of SAVVI. And I remember at the time thinking, oh, am I going to take this time to work and go to this crazy hard program? And then the bill for it was $141,000. And I was like, oh, that is not frugal. But state school was a lot cheaper. But I met one of the founders of SAVVI, and I had been in the financial advice business, and it was just amazing to see what they were doing. And I've made wonderful friends, lifelong connections. And despite the size of that bill, probably the largest bill other than buying a home that I've ever encountered, I wouldn't be on this podcast with you today. I wouldn't be part of SAVVI helping to democratize financial advice. I wouldn't appear to be smart because I get to hang out with all these people that I went to school with. But it is just such a blessing to be around those folks on a daily basis. So yeah, I'm going to pander to my folks at MIT and say my favorite bill was that $141,000.
Yeah.
Well, that is the first MIT bill we've ever gotten on the show.
Yes.
So
no, but yeah, that was my favorite. It hurt.
Sure. When did you graduate?
I graduated in 2014.
Nice. Congrats.
And I did roll, I did actually refinance rates were so low. So I actually took my student loan debt from that and I put it into my house. And I'd like to pretend that it doesn't exist anymore, but it's just, it's in this roof over my head right now. But it was an amazing experience. It was executive program, so I kept working at the time, and all of us were trying to hold down families and jobs. And you talk about goal setting. I mean, you'd be amazed what you can do when it's just, okay, well, I have to make this work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am learning that as a parent right now, a first-time parent. I actually thought that same phrase today. I'm like, you just make it work.
Yeah.
I'm not a mom. I don't know why they let me go home with this kid.
Because it came out of your body, Jen.
Yeah.
That's how that happened.
You make it, you take it.
You own it. I don't know.
You break it, you buy it. What?
But yeah, you just do it. You make it through. That's awesome.
You don't break. I had a friend of mine who was like, we didn't break the kid today. Like, good job. It's every day's victory as a parent.
Yes.
That's so good. Well, if you want to submit your bill of the week, if it's an MIT bill or any other kind of bill, visit us at frugalfriendspodcast.com/bill and tell us what you got.
We're only accepting Ivy League bills now from this point. So
we're talking about a Harvard study.
Oh, no.
We got an MIT bill. We are bougie today.
No, it's for everybody.
It's for everybody.
I walked into MIT once, and then I walked through the courtyard and I walked right out.
It's a lovely place.
Good job. Great. See, that's why you're so smart and successful, Jen.
Because I walked through MIT once.
Yeah. Well, now it's time for You Know It.
It's never too late. Never too late to earn a degree. Never too late for a comeback. Between your busy career and taking care of a family, it can feel like there's never a good time to go back to school. But your time is now. Time to start your comeback with Purdue Global. As Purdue's online university for working adults, Purdue Global is dedicated to supporting adults like you who know it's time to earn the recognition you deserve. You have the experience, you have the knowledge, it's time to get credit for the work you've done. You can balance work, family, and everything in between while earning your degree. It's time to move forward in your career, for your family and for yourself, with a degree you're proud of, a degree that employers will recognize and respect. You're worth this investment in yourself to earn a degree you deserve. It's never too late. Never too late to go back to school and come back stronger with an education you can trust. Now is the time for your comeback. Start yours today at purdueglobal.edu.
From the studio who brought you the #1 podcast, The Piketon Massacre, this is Murder 101.
A group of high school students started a project to research a string of unsolved murders.
Those murders happened in the mid-1980s.
He's out there doing stuff. He just didn't stop.
Everything that the students predicted through their profile turned out to be accurate.
Redhead killer profile. Male, Caucasian, 5'9" to 6'2", 180 to 270 pounds. Unstable home, absent father and a domineering mother. Right-handed, IQ above 100, most likely heterosexual.
There is no profile of this killer except for the ones the students created.
Just because some of these women no longer have people to speak for them does not mean that they deserve to not be spoken for.
What if this guy's still alive? Like, what if he comes after us?
I said, are you going to kill me? And he said, yes.
Listen to Murder 101 on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
My next favorite part, the lightning round. Well, so Brian, we want to know more about SAVVI. What is the philosophy behind SAVVI Financial? Like, what makes it different from just Googling your financial questions? You know, like
Googling,
most of us.
It might get you to a good place like your podcast. It might lead you astray to
oh, man. I've had some doozies with Google searches.
Yep.
It's a deep, dark place.
Famous last words.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for asking. So SAVVI was built really to democratize financial advice. And I started my career as a financial advisor. And it's a wonderful role. You get to help people with their money and help them make smart decisions. But what's happened over the years is that you need more and more in assets to work with an advisor. And so SAVVI was built to just say, can we bring this to the masses? And what SAVVI does that's different, you mentioned the importance of being really specific and actionable. So the advice that SAVVI gives, we get down literally to the dollar to say you should open this account with this much and move this from here to here. And the cool part is we don't ask you for your money. We're not, there are a lot of robo-advisors out there, and there are some great tools in the marketplace, but robo-advisors are designed to, hey, we're going to give you all these cool tools, and then please invest with us. Mm-hmm. And so with SAVVI, we say, we're actually a fiduciary, so we're going to give you advice, and it's going to be unbiased. And similar to what we talked about earlier, it may be, should I pay off my credit card or should I fund my 401k? So we look at it and try to find the optimal outcome. So it might be all in on one or a combination of the other. But what we do, what the tool does, we help you to organize your financial life, because that's the really important first step. So we're kind of like tools such as Mint. I don't know if I can say that, but we help you organize where all your stuff is, and you can link your accounts. And then we help you understand where your money goes, sort of like a budgeting exercise, but we're not latte counters, just a general idea of where your money goes and insights about it. And then it's where the goals come in. So you can pick goals like retirement or buying a home, buying a car. How much life insurance do I need? How do I send my kids to college? How do I pay off my student loan debt? We just rolled out an optimization around how to attack specifically student loan debt. And then we come back with advice to say, here's what you need to do. And hey, you're really on track, or you know what, you're getting there, but here's what you can do to get back on track. So we have a free tool that anybody can use that gives you an idea. It's most of what SAVVI can do. And if you really love us, we have a paid version too for $10 a month. That's not too bad.
It's way less than a financial advisor.
It's true. And some people too, we realize that, and our tool can certainly help you. We talked to one of our users who was really, really sophisticated and had a lot of money, but he was really a do-it-yourself planner. And we gave him advice. He's like, I didn't know that I could do this thing called a backdoor Roth IRA contribution. I never knew I could do that. I thought I made too much money to do a Roth IRA. And now I found out how to do it. And it's like, we built that in there, and we build in the tax code and all this other sophistication. So as I mentioned, I work with all these crazy smart people who can really do math. And so it's a very powerful tool, and like anybody can use it.
Yeah. So there are some really cool features on it. Like, I spent the past few weeks playing around with it. Tell us a little bit about they have such cool names too. The Decision Optimizer and the Stress Test Simulator. Whoa. Like, what are those?
I think, don't you guys have like a Frugalizer or something? I'm not mistaken. Like, I want to get emails from you. I use the Frugalizer, isn't that? You just like Izers, right? I mean, is that Jen or Jill? Who came up with the Izer?
That's true. That's all Jen.
Oh, Jen. Yeah. Okay, Jen loves it.
Yeah. I like the lightning round, and she likes Frugalizers.
And that's why you're an awesome team. So way to go. So SAVVI is based, the math is really an optimization model. And so what we do is we create optimal outcomes, or we recommend optimal outcomes for your financial life. So the team that built this, that's been together for a while, they actually started out on problems like airline yield management and how to make school buses run on time. And what they did is took the complexity of how do I balance all this out of someone's financial life and put it into a robust optimization model, and came out with one of a few ideal outcomes, which could be, here's how much you save into here, here's how much you work toward college, and balancing all of that, because I may have a goal that's, I would really like to send my kids to college and I'd like to retire at this age, but the work to get there, because all these things balance out, but I also need to buy a car. And oh, by the way, my kid increases, and I just give up, right? So that optimization model helps to take all that complexity and come back with something that makes sense.
Awesome. Yeah, because even if you could figure it out on your own, it can be exactly overwhelming like that. But if you can have something that says, hey, this is how it is, it's okay that it's this way. It's not, 100% ideal, but this is the way it has to be. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm not failing. I can still get it done.
Yeah. Are there any circumstances where SAVVI and its resources might not be right for somebody?
It's a great question. One of the things that we don't have yet is a human element to it. And we're, hopefully going to roll that out next year where we could have some human coaching in there. There are people who, there's a self-service element to what we do. You have to go in and link your accounts up, and then you have to answer certain questions on an online portal. And some people who aren't necessarily tech savvy, pun sort of intended. If you're not really good, I just want to talk to someone and have them tell me what to do, and just like throw all my statements in front of them. Like, well, maybe you are better served by a human financial advisor.
Sure.
So,
right, at a higher price point.
At a higher
certainly.
price. It's like, but I can't afford one. It's like, okay, well, so sometimes we will, certainly anytime one of our users needs help getting through the tool, but a lot of times, like, I really just want to talk to someone. Like, well, all the advice is here on the screen. Just, so yeah, I would say that the person who's probably not a great fit for us, at least today, is someone who just really needs someone to do it for them and really needs to meet with someone or have that human element. We try to build that into the tool, but it's still an online advice tool. It's still digital. It's not as fun as a person, maybe. I don't know. We try. But probably someone who needs a person, they might be better served with a human advisor if they have the money and if they qualify.
Yeah. But most of us like saving money more than people. So I think we're fine.
Yes. See, you can get your advice from a tool like SAVVI and then have more money to hang out with fun people, right?
Yeah. And not talk about money.
Exactly. Just spend it on cool stuff.
Yeah. So we mentioned it earlier, but can you remind people where they can go to learn more and use SAVVI?
Sure, I'd love to. So it's SAVVI with an I, FI.com, SAVVI, FI.com. And check out the website. It talks about our story. It talks about how it all works. In the upper right-hand corner, you can click on sign up. And like I said, we have a free plan. So if it sounds like, does this thing sound good? Try it out. Start putting your stuff in. And, hop on chat if you need help. I might be the person who chats with you because, we're a fast growing, but we're still a 12-person company, right?
Nice.
We talked to someone last week and they thought, like, you guys have 100 employees. I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool. We're on our way. But we just rolled out, and we're a fairly new tool. We rolled out with our first employer partner last year, and we've just rolled out our direct-to-consumer platform this past May. So, and we'd love the feedback too. I'd say if you sign up and I'm like, you guys could totally do this better, just drop us a line. It's some of our best feedback, positive or negative, comes from our user base, so we can make this thing better and help people to make more smart money decisions.
That's awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Brian, and thanks for being part of the show. Yeah. We have found SAVVI to be like a really cool tool and something we think that our listeners will really benefit from, truly. Like we've said for the past few weeks, like the free version has all the cool features that you would pay for too. It's not just one of those like gimmicky free trials.
No, we wanted to make the free version of SAVVI good. And then, that you like, wow, I really like this. Okay. But it's not like, oh, I signed up for this and gave all my info and now this thing stinks. No, we've had a really positive response with the tool. And again, I know we've been able to sponsor and you've been able to mention the tool in some previous podcasts. So we really appreciate that partnership as well to get people onto the platform.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks for coming on the show, Brian.
Thank you.
Great. I'm so glad that we have had SAVVI as a sponsor for the show. I think they are doing a really great thing for frugal people. And we have really benefited from that partnership and his wisdom.
Especially as we start to think more big term, long term, once we're out of debt, what comes next and how can we get the resources of the wealthy at a frugal cost or for those that are wanting to approach it in a more frugal way. So I'm glad that it exists with today's technology.
Yes.
And if you want even more engagement on these things of goal setting and long-term thinking and just frugality, we're doing this book club thing. And this month we're wrapping up, but we're still reading I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi for book club this month.
Yes. If you want your middle class mindset challenge, Ramit will do it. I highly recommend you read this book. Yeah. If you want a free copy because all your other frugal friends got it from the library, don't you worry. You can get one by leaving us a review at iTunes or Stitcher. Screenshot the review and send it to frugalfriendspodcast@gmail.com. And we will select one random winner from every 5 reviews we get at the end of each month. And that's coming up. So you still got time to get Ramit's book.
And if you want an example of a review, because we all need examples in life to know exactly what we're talking about. This review comes from Rachel, and she says, great show, 5 stars. She happened to give us 5 stars. Just started listening to your podcast and have been binge listening for the past couple of days. I love how relatable you both are. I feel like I'm chatting with my girlfriends at a bar about the most important things in life while not taking ourselves too seriously. Keep up the great work, bringing wisdom to women in a fun and relatable way. Love, Money Hacking Mama. Thanks so much, Rachel. Loved connecting. I actually did just connect with Money Hacking Mama on Insta. So she has a blog. So even feel free to check that out. Thanks for the support. We love to support each other.
Yes. And we will keep coming at you, not from a bar, but from wishing we were at the bar, but definitely talking to you like your girlfriends every week. Every Friday we will be here. And until next Friday, have a good frugal week.
Bye.
Reach those goals.
Get them.
Frugal Friends is produced, edited, and mixed by Eric Sirianni.
What goals do you have now that you've accomplished this whole book
this is perfect. This is the right thing to do right now. Okay.
Yeah. This is the right.
This is the okay. So, book is launched. Holidays are coming. So, in January, I want to lead a private challenge group with people from my email list, our listeners, whoever. But I want this group to be for people that are having a hard time doing a no spend challenge, having a hard time cutting their expenses, all this stuff. A challenge group where we can really invest in each other. And so.
Nice. How many people would be a part of that?
As many people as will pay me money. But yeah, I don't want it to just be like a thing where I like just send out pre-assigned emails. Like I want to be in people's lives, in it with them. And that obviously takes time away from my family and my work to do that. And so it's going to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it depends on how you look at that. Coming from maybe the potential consumer side of things, people pay for therapists to help them reach goals all the time.
Oh, this is going to be much cheaper than therapy.
That's so expensive. If you pay out of pocket for therapy, you are paying $85 to $120 per 50-minute session. I know, I'm a therapist. So, yeah, I mean, to kind of get that kind of very tangible help from yourself and others in the group, which when it comes to reaching goals, group environments are very helpful for that, hearing and seeing how other people are accomplishing it. So, yeah, that does hold value to me.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
well, I'm glad
there's your little
to hear
plug.
you say that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So I've never done anything like this before. It's always been very intimidating. I've seen other people do it.
Yeah.
But I've never felt worth paying for. So
you are valuable. You are beautiful.
Yeah, this is something that I am I'm putting out there. It's going to be in January, and we're gonna figure this thing out together. But it's going to be like wallet therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We're gonna get more frugal together in 2020. It's gonna be real good.
That's awesome.
How about you, Jill?
Oh, Jen, you're so much better at this than me. I am learning this process. I would say right now I have not the SMART goals. I have kind of the lofty ideas of things I want to accomplish and need to get down to what are the steps I need to take to do that. So as I think about my 10-year kind of what do I want to have accomplished, it is a lot of, I do want to learn a language, well, not a language. I want to become proficient in Spanish. So I do have an app that I am working through. I have a friend who will help me at times, but I need to be more diligent with it. So I'm hoping to be able to identify how I can do that in the new year, like kind of what things I need to be putting in place for that.
Come down to Florida.
Are there a lot of Spanish-speaking people there?
Oh, yeah.
Hola!
You can go to daycare
¿Cómo
with Kai
estás?
and talk to Miss Isabel
Yes.
all day.
Yeah, it's a real thing. I think that's kind of my one priority but like a bigger, more lofty, but need to really take strides in it this year. And of course, paying off debt. I hope to have that done by March. So that's probably taking up a bit of my focus right now. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Well, we'll revisit our goals.
Oh boy, we actually have it recorded.
I know. It's we'll revisit these and see how we did. We'll know by March how both of us did with both of our immediate goals.
Perfect. Oh boy, see you then.
A group of high school students started a project to research a string of unsolved murders.
There is no profile of this killer except for the ones the students created.
What if this guy's still alive? Like, what if he comes after us?
Once you start getting a few tips or a few leads or a few identifications, then the cold case isn't so cold anymore.
This is Murder 101. Listen to Murder 101 on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Discover the heartwarming and hilarious world of sibling connections on Sibling Revelry with Kate Hudson and Oliver Hudson. Dive into family tales, explore the human mind, and laugh with guests like Joel and Benji Madden. It's more than a podcast, it's a celebration of the ties that bind us.
And it's fun because we've decided to open it up to really like all kinds of different siblings. And it's going to be an awesome season.
Listen to Sibling Revelry with Kate Hudson and Oliver Hudson on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.